Hello and welcome to Fathoms Deep, a Black Sails podcast from Common Room Radio. I'm Liz Stevens.
And I'm Daphne Olive. Hey, Liz, what were you doing right before you came to meet me?
I was recording another podcast, as a matter of fact.
You were? Tell me all about it.
I have it 2 a day today. Yeah. Well, we started Mighty Fine Shindig this week, which is super exciting. I had a blast recording with Vinton from Graphomania and Sarah Cade. Sarah Cade Pazant. That's going to take me some getting used to. She'll always be Sarah Cade to me first. But anyway, yeah, we started that podcast this week and we had a blast recording today. It's going to be a great show. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so just so everyone knows, this is a new Common Room Radio podcast that's going to be about Firefly and Serenity. And I am definitely not in on this. I'm going to be a listener, and I'm really excited because I've only watched Firefly once, and I've not watched Serenity at all because I was waiting for you all.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's a real high energy podcast. And you can really tell how much the three of us just love the show. We do a little bit of like the analytical and the character analysis that we do in this show, but mostly we're just kind of fanning out and enjoying I mean, it's kind of a popcorn movie to the film that that is Black Sails, but we're really loving it.
And it's going to be so much fun. And also, at least for people in the U.S., Firefly and Serenity are on Netflix.
I know Firefly is. I wasn't sure if Serenity was or not.
No, well, last I checked, Serenity was, and I'll be really sad if not, because I have been saving it. So everyone should check that out. And also you all will be watching and live tweeting the episodes, right?
We're going to live tweet every episode on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then the episode will drop we'll try to drop the episode right after we're done with the live tweets. So it'll come out on Tuesday nights or Wednesdays.
So that'll be super fun. And I'm going to join that as often as I can, hopefully every Tuesday. Yeah. So I will also be part of the live tweets just for fun.
Yep. And I'm really looking forward to when season 4 of Black Sails comes out and we can live tweet those episodes.
I know. We are going to do that as well, everyone.
With the live tweets. So much fun with those.
Yeah, it is. It is super fun. I know. It's funny. We haven't done that at all. I think people have asked for it. Maybe we should do it. Maybe we'll do the season finale of season 3
as well. That's a good idea.
We could do that. That would be fun. And we'll just set a time and everyone everyone who's available can join with us. And that'll be super fun to do that as a group.
I like that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, let's do that. I also love live tweets. All right. Well, about this episode, we are on episode 20.
20. Oh my gosh. See, I was trying to think of the number. I was in a hurry, of course, because I had just recorded another podcast. So I sat down to watch the episode really quick. Ended up just putting in 3.2 instead of my Roman numeral that I usually do for my notes.
So yes, this is episode 20. And this is a big one for everyone who's watched it already. This is The Storm.
Yeah.
I think this is the only episode I know of that people actually call it by a name. It is titled 20, but everyone calls it The Storm episode.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a special treat about this. This Sunday, we're going to sit down with the director, Lucas Etlin, who I met at New York Comic Con. He decided he wanted to come chat with us about it. So we're going to have a special episode.
Exciting.
Yeah. I know. I'm so excited. So we're going to have a special episode where we've chatted with him and he'll tell us lots of behind the scenes stuff. And
so cool.
I know.
Well, and just technically, it's a technically beautiful episode. And it looks, and I remember thinking this as I was watching it too, that it looked incredibly difficult to shoot.
Oh my goodness.
I can't even grueling. Imagine. Yeah.
Yep.
I remember thinking to myself, I bet Tom Hopper's happy he's got those big arms now because that man is holding on.
I know. Yeah. Yes. Well, yes. Lucas will tell us all about it. He did tell me a little bit at New York Comic Con, but I'm going to ask him those questions again because, it's great stories.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing them. I was not at New York Comic Con, so I'm looking forward to hearing.
No. But yes, he's lovely. He also did episode 9 of season 2. So he is also the person who made the choices about how we watched Miranda die.
Yes. And we'll have to talk about that too.
We will. We'll have to talk with him a little bit about that too.
Wow.
Yes. So that's very exciting. All right. But let's get into this episode.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, so we have 3 groups. I think it was the same 3 groups as last time. We're not in London now, but we have Eleanor and Woods Rogers, and I really enjoyed their scenes.
I did too. I'll tell you what I enjoyed is that I finally heard a ship name worse than the Walrus. And
Which
that's
ship
the
name was
HMS Milford, which is the worst. But then he had the Willing Mind, which is an awesome ship name. So, I guess if you have a whole fleet, one of them's bound to be good. But yeah, he led off with the HMS Milford. And I was like, oh no, that's terrible.
Oh, I love that. See, now I want to look up, because again, I said that Woods Rogers is a historic character.
Yeah.
I'm so curious if these were actually his ships.
Could be.
I mean, not his. Again, he made it clear,
Right.
these are ships from his investors. So
Yes.
we learned a lot of interesting new things about him. And then we have Nassau. There's, just...
A lot going on in Nassau.
A lot going on in Nassau. We had a lot of changes, a lot of fabulous Jack.
Jack is pretty fabulous, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jack's pretty fabulous all the time, but there are episodes where my love of him is greater than other episodes. This happens to be one of them.
Fair enough.
And then we have our walrus crew and their storm. Wow.
Yeah. Incredible.
Incredible. All right. So I think, let's start talking about our characters.
All right, let's get into it.
Prepare to board. Aye.
All right. So I thought we would start with Eleanor and Woods Rogers this time.
Okay.
And our first view is of Eleanor bathing.
What's your thought on that?
On the bathing or on the scene?
Yeah. The scene and on her bathing and on the...
I feel like this was it's funny because we've totally seen Eleanor naked before. I thought that the view of her bathing already set her up in a place of vulnerability, which is interesting because I feel like this is an episode where she shows a lot of strength, like the kind of Eleanor strength that we really like. What did you think of it?
Okay. I don't know. It felt a little bit gratuitous at first because it was like we didn't even see her. We saw just her breasts first, right? Before we even realized who it was.
Yep.
So it felt a little bit gratuitous at first.
Oh, see, that's the part that for me felt vulnerable. Like that we were watching her because you're not watching her in a sexy way. You're watching her in an environment where you're not normally watching people.
That is true. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right. I like that perspective.
I mean,
I like it better than mine, so that's great.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I felt about it. Because especially because I don't know what to call her. She's not a chambermaid. She's a lady's maid, right?
She calls her a chambermaid. So
does she call her a chambermaid?
Well, and I don't think she's a lady's maid because she is employed by Woods Rogers. So I think that she's just, we'll just say a maid, the maid.
Okay.
All right.
So, a bit of trivia. She does happen to be, this is Anna Louise Plowman, who is married to Toby Stevens.
So there you go. Keeping it in the family. Yep. I like that.
Exactly. Yes, I do too. So the reason why I thought vulnerability is because Eleanor starts when she walks in. Eleanor did not expect someone to walk in on her at that moment. Mm-hmm. And also, what I found interesting also about, the whole thing it's an interesting exchange. Definitely, she's being sassy maid.
Yeah.
And
well, I was going to say,
in
too,
that.
Before we got into that, though, that the bathing also may have been that transition from fugitive to lady.
Right. And so we see a corset. That's what I wanted to bring up. It was that.
So that may be part of that transition.
Right. Hannah New was talking about that about season 3, that she was like, Eleanor doesn't wear corsets. Eleanor's not a lady. And here we are. She's being handed a corset. Mm-hmm. So that is that moment. You're totally right. This is kind of her transition to having to play this new role.
Right. Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And think about it. She's wearing a corset, but look how plain her dress is. Think about compared to the dresses that Max has been wearing lately, in particular this episode. It is really true. Every episode, Max's dress just becomes more ornate and more grand. Mm-hmm. So that's what it felt to me. It felt very vulnerable. It did not. Okay. It was just yes, it is a close up of a breast, but not in a way where where that's showing any amount of sexuality or power, which is how we've seen Eleanor use her sexuality.
Okay.
Well, I think this is a great Eleanor episode, and I do think that she manages to. She is in a vulnerable position. I mean, he's basically threatening to kill her constantly.
Yeah.
And yet,
I guess it does come back to killing her. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he says in a little bit, he's going to say, "You lie, you die."
Yeah.
Her life is on the line, and she's very aware of it, and she's being very savvy.
Yes.
About how she's dealing with it. In, again, smart, capable Eleanor. Like the version of Eleanor that I like the best is the one that is here. So I feel like, I just feel like the introduction to her is really setting that up. This is not the Eleanor of Nassau. This is not the Eleanor who orders people around, who plots to kill people.
Right.
I mean, she's definitely being smart, and she's definitely plotting. I don't doubt that for a minute. But we are constantly reminded that she's just not at all in a position of power. And that's the first thing that Sassy Maid says to her. She starts, talking to her and she said, "Oh, I've never had a maid before." And she said, "Well, I don't work for you. You're just a convict. I work for the governor." And then, what did she say? Oh, then, Eleanor says that she's not...
She said she wasn't privileged. She said, "You must not know my story because I'm not privileged." Yeah.
Right. And then she also puts her in her place. She's like, "Excuse me. Did you not inherit a whole empire?"
Well, that's part of privilege, isn't it? Is that you don't think you have it. Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, we will learn more about this maid and her life and her situation. But, but yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it is, yes, Eleanor, it's very possible that Eleanor never got it. I mean, I think that maybe this whole series of scenes, I don't know if it's a day or more than one day, is just she's learning a lot of lessons.
Yes, quite. Yeah, she sure is.
So then and she says that great line. She says, "The only difference between you and the ladies I've served is that their families have better lawyers." And I felt like that was a bit of like, this whole episode is also saying to Eleanor, welcome to civilization. You are now in the world of civilization. You wear a corset. People are dishonest. It's just if they have better lawyers, they don't get hung for it.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, this was a very stark view of what civilization is that people of privilege aren't any different.
Yeah.
They just know how to get out of trouble.
Whew.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that was just a big slap in the face of civilization, I felt like. Okay, so then we have the first interaction between her and Rogers, and I love them together. I really do.
Yeah, and you can see how impressed he is, which is nice. Yeah, he's very impressed by her story.
Yes, he's very impressed by her, and also again, this is the version of Eleanor. Like she does swear once when she talks about fucking Vane,
right?
But otherwise, she's doing that thing where she is speaking like a smart, educated woman. That she is. She's showing how tough she is and how savvy she is, but she's not trying to be like a pirate anymore.
Yeah. Well, and she's even managing, not to sound humble exactly, but she's not even being arrogant or prideful when she's saying it. She's just explaining what happened. And it actually reminds me of when Charles Vane says power that just is. Like she just tells the story how it happened and you see how powerful it is.
It is pretty impressive. Like, to be honest,
pretty impressive, actually. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like we came into this story with her already in power without putting a whole lot of thought into how she got there.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have thought that she would have been that driving force behind getting the power quite so much, at least when she was so young. I would have thought it had been more accidental and she just kind of went with it. But she absolutely masterminded getting to where she got. And I was surprised. I had forgotten about how her relationship with Vane started. It began as a political move. It began as a manipulation.
Yep.
Which again isn't to say that her feelings for him weren't genuine or sincere or complicated, which is probably more likely. But
that's what they do in this show.
That is what they do. Indeed. Yeah.
No, it's kind of amazing. I mean, think about it. Think about our introduction. I mean, we haven't seen Teach a lot yet, but think about our introduction to him.
Yeah, he was like
the
most badass.
That guy.
Yeah,
when she was 17.
And won.
And won.
Yes.
And won because of politics.
Yes.
Like, did she manage to maneuver Hornigold to betray him and then maneuver Vane to betray him? And
using two vastly different
tools.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll call a fort and a body both tools.
Sure, but yeah. Whatever you got to use.
Yeah, it's really, it is a fascinating story, and she's so matter of fact. I loved that.
It's very impressive.
I also just wanted to bring up real quickly, this isn't about the two of them, but just about the episode in general. Like, we keep transitioning between the Walrus crew and the storminess and the upheaval and these very quiet introductions to our Woodes Rogers scenes.
Yeah.
So this scene where she's telling the story, we went from like, the wind and the Tagallants and all of that to like a close-up of stirring tea.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So I just wanted to bring that up because I really love these transitions. I just feel like it was so perfect, showing how Flint and Woodes Rogers are in such different places at this moment. On this day, they're just both, each of them is having a very different day than the other. But both dealing with turmoil and upheaval, just in such
in their own ways.
such different versions of it. So then when he asked who Teach's protege was, that she got to side with her over Teach, she says Vane.
And he recognized the name Teach right away, too.
Yes, he did.
Which also shows,
yes, he did.
How impressed he was by her.
Yep. I mean, and she does say that. She says that actually in the first one when he threatens her and he says, "Oh, that little ship, I didn't know if I needed it." And that's when she does her whole speech about, yes, but you don't know this and you don't know that and you don't know that. And then she just continues by saying, you don't know, you don't know, you don't know. So, and here she, when he gets mad, and that's the only time she swears, is he's like, so you got him to go in. She's like, yeah, I was fucking him.
Yes.
And he gets mad, and he had said in the first bit, he's like, if you withhold, he included withholding as lying, and this was definitely withholding. And she's like, I didn't lie, and I was like, yeah, but he did. Yeah. He did actually say withhold also. And he's mad because he's like, I'm risking my whole credibility, this whole endeavor on your, wanting to get revenge on a former lover. And then she brings it back again. She's like, you don't know, these names. So clearly he knows the names. I mean, that would be absurd. He's a smart guy. It would be absurd for him not to go into this knowing the main players. But he does. She's right. He doesn't know who they are, really. And she does, to some extent. I mean, the reality on the ground has changed quite a bit while she was away. And that she doesn't know yet. She says a Flint can be reasonable. That amuses me. That Rackham only cares about his legacy. We know this also.
Yes, very true.
But then she says of Vane, and she says underestimate him.
Yeah.
She said when people underestimate him, bad things happen. She said, I lost my father. Lord Ashe underestimated him, and Charlestown burned. What do you want him to take from you? She's so smart here.
She is.
I love this Eleanor. This Eleanor really works for me. Then she talks about, he says, but how can I trust you? And then she uses one of Silver's lines. And she says, you don't need to trust me. We want the same thing.
Yep.
And mutual self-interest makes the best partners.
Yep.
And
that's Silver all over.
It is. And Silver said this to her in season 1 when he was like in her office back then, and he was talking to her about making coalitions. That's exactly what he told her.
Wow. Yep.
I know. Everyone needs a Silver, right?
Well, it is smart. It shows that she learns. So,
yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. The whole thing about Shifting Sands is everyone's always making new partnerships, and they're based on different things. And this will be interesting with these two. That's as much as I guess I'm going to say, is like right now, a partnership built on mutual self-interest is really smart. And again, because we learn more things about him. We'll get to that conversation. But this seems like a very smart partnership for both of them. Like they're both going, well, again, she's going to gain not dying.
Right. Yeah.
Which is
she
big
gets
gain.
to live, which is great. Yeah.
And again, if he's as smart as he seems to be, she could be obviously a very useful tool for him. Mm-hmm. So the last thing I wanted to bring up was actually about his interaction with Captain Chamberlain at the end.
Yeah. Okay.
I really loved this. And this is where I wanted to start bringing up the thing that you said last week.
Okay.
About there being a similarity between Woodes Rogers and Thomas Hamilton.
Oh, uh-huh.
So we learned some things about Woodes Rogers in this conversation. So Chamberlain brings up his book. He said, I read your memoir.
Uh-huh.
And he said, but I've also heard about things that weren't in your memoir.
Yeah.
And he said that you were reckless. And we find out that Woodes Rogers used to be a privateer. So just to remind everyone, a privateer was essentially a government-sanctioned pirate.
Right. Interesting.
Very interesting, right? Well, Chamberlain said, I don't approve of your tactics.
Right.
And he said, I know that you were reckless in the past and that bad things happened and that you carry the scars of those. And that's right when he turns his chin and we see what we'd been seeing. But I felt like they really put an exclamation point on the fact that Woodes Rogers has pretty serious scars on his face.
Very serious scars. Yeah.
So yeah, what I wanted to bring up here is one, he said, were you so confident then as you are now? So so Woodes Rogers, I mean, I just feel like this conversation's really on many levels aligning Woodes Rogers with pirates.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Specifically that he was a privateer. So in a way, he was a pirate. So he's not just a lord or a person of privilege or a politician or any of those things.
Right.
He comes from the same background as them.
It makes him a very interesting choice for governor. That's for sure.
Yes, it does.
It makes you want to read his book.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. We'll get an interesting review of his book in a few episodes.
We will. I vaguely recall this. Yes.
But yeah, so this is what I'm saying. This is our first hint that he's not necessarily a parallel with Thomas Hamilton, which is not to say they don't have things in common. But he comes from a very different perspective at this pirate problem of Nassau.
Right. Well, and he has been very, I guess, genteel up until now, too. So it's hard to imagine him as a privateer or as someone who would be, I don't know, in the kind of altercation that would result in the scars on his face. Interesting.
So yes, so we will learn more of him as this season goes on. Yeah, I mean, this is just going to be interesting. Like, where, in this, what we thought of, again, I want to bring this back to our cold open from last episode. This is a season where I think it is significant that we started with a cold open where it wasn't clear who was pirate and who was not pirate.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Where Eleanor is entering the world of civilization, or at least seemingly so. I think we should track where that line that we thought of as such a sharp line between civilization and pirate might start getting blurry. And I think Woodes Rogers, in some ways, we've now seen that he might be a personification of that.
Interesting. I like that very much.
This is a huge part of why I love his character.
It's a great character. The actor is so compelling, too.
Yes.
I like him. I just immediately like him.
Right.
And I shouldn't. I absolutely shouldn't. He's coming to destroy everything that Flint's been fighting for.
Yep, he's coming to fight our pirates.
Yeah.
Yep. Again, that's one of the things I love about the show is that you're just not allowed to ever kind of rest in one set of emotions about any character, really. They just They keep you on your toes.
They sure do. Yeah.
They are
absolutely.
complex like human beings.
Just like them. Uh-huh.
Just like human beings. It's amazing. All right. So maybe we'll move on to NASA now.
Okay.
Where we have a lot of complex human beings right now. Let's talk about Jack.
Of course, your favorite. Where do you want to start? Gosh.
I would like to start with a discussion of 500 pieces.
I have been thinking of asking him which Shakespearean character Jack fancies himself as, and which Shakespearean character Toby Schmitz actually thinks that Jack is.
Oh, I love that question.
It's a good question. I won't give away my answer here, but all that to say that Jack is amusing me greatly, and I feel for him as he is attempting to wrangle these
I know.
poor idiot pirates around him.
What a gorgeous scene, though, for like really throwing us into the challenge of his situation, though.
It is a specific challenge. And as smart as Jack is, he's also kind of woefully incompetent sometimes.
Yep.
It's hard to watch.
Well, I mean, I think that's what this episode is about really for Jack, is really just what a bad job he's doing at leading everyone.
He's just doing a bad job.
I just love that scene. I didn't even write notes. I mean, this is one of those scenes where I would be tempted just to write down every line, but I've chosen not to because it's just glorious. Everyone just go watch this episode again so that you can watch all the Jack awesomeness. But yes, this guy with his 500 pieces that he'd lost, what was it, 2 days ago?
Yeah,
and Jack was so
like
sure that he meant losing it, gambling. He's like,
right.
No, I misplaced it.
Yeah, like I had it in a sack. Oh.
Oh, it's just...
Well, and poor Jack, because he thought, and this is always Jack's thought, as soon as I do, XYZ, I'll have their respect and I'll, earn my keep around this place.
Right.
And then he gets XYZ and it doesn't actually change the way anybody thinks about him.
Yep. That's totally true. And this is, I don't remember if it's Lonnie or Alistair or Lonnie and Alistair from Storywonk, Drink, who always says this, like, the best thing you can do for a character is give them what they thought they wanted.
Right. Yeah.
And then have it not be all of that. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of that in this season.
Yep. He's got all the gold, every bit of the Urca gold. He's got the fort. He's got control over the Urca gold and the fort. He has the respect of Charles Vane. He has a partnership with Charles Vane and Flint. He is part of the triumvirate ruling Nassau. And
yep. And it's just not working out for him.
And it is not working out for him. Yep. And yep. Oh, poor Jack.
I know. Poor Jack. Okay. So then Max comes in and she has a bag of gold.
Yes. Such a smart lady.
I know. She is such a smart lady. She puts them down on the desk and she says, this is 350 pieces on both sides. And Jax just goes straight to snark, but beautiful snark it is. And he's like,
of course.
Yeah, I have that. So I suppose what we ought to do is ensure that the fort is not conquerable. And he's like, which is what I'm doing. So we're all good. And she's like, yeah.
It's what he thinks he's doing. He's not doing a good job of it. Again, this is where he cannot admit that he is not doing well.
And especially not to Max, because he's really mad.
Especially not to Max, of course.
Right, because he's just like, wait, so you have this plan for exchanging gold for things like pearls and jewels that are more portable. And he's like, which means you and Anne get to go be rich and have a future together while I get buried under this rubble of a fort once Spain or England come to conquer it. And this is where Max says she will choose you.
Yeah.
And his tone completely changes. And this is the thing that these are the scenes I love most with Jack, is just when he manages to be somehow completely amusing and heartbreaking at the same time.
Yeah.
And just, the mood in this room shifts so quickly the minute she says that to him, and he's just, you could just see, he's like, really, you think that? I mean, he doesn't say that, but, he's just like, wait a minute, you think Anne will choose me? And yeah, this scene just kind of breaks my heart.
And what does she say? There is no her without you?
Yep.
Something like
Yep.
that?
She says, of course she said she'll be sad to leave me, but without you,
Right.
there is no her.
Yeah. And he looked, kind of relieved to hear that, which again is too bad because I want Anne to have an identity that is apart from both Jack and Max.
Right.
But Jack doesn't seem as concerned with that, honestly. I mean, he likes him and Anne being one person, being on a team.
Right, but I think what we're seeing is that there is no Jack really without Anne. I mean, I don't think that he wants to dominate her. I mean, we see how lost he is too.
I think they're mutually codependent,
Right,
on each other in a way that's not necessarily healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, lovely, sure, but not necessarily healthy.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So then Max says, we have our differences, but the thing that we have in common is that we both love her.
Yeah.
And
That was lovely.
it was lovely. And again, I feel the need to always address the Max doubters. Like, I 100% believe Max. Like,
I mean, and again, I think we're certainly supposed to. She looks very sincere. I don't think there's any reason to think that she wouldn't, except that we just haven't seen enough of her and Anne, I guess, as a couple.
right. We've not. Although we do have the scene after this where Max basically breaks it to Anne, this reality. And she says, we've talked about this before,
Yeah.
that civilization will come and you will leave and I will need to integrate. And she doesn't explain
Yes.
why they have that difference. That explanation is coming very soon. But this is clearly a discussion that they've had already. And when Anne says, what did you say to him? Tell me the truth. Max tells her the truth. I mean, I think that later scene actually is a very good representation of what their couplehood looks like. I mean, we don't see them like joyously hanging out because that's just not really what this show does.
Yeah, that's very true.
We're not we're not going to see them, sipping wine and looking at the full moon together. That's just not what we do in Black Sails.
Oh, so true.
That's a different show. But yeah, I do really buy it. And Max is straight up with Jack. She's like, look, part of my motivation here is to secure my own future, and I won't apologize for that. Mm-hmm. And these are the moments. Exactly. These are just the moments where I adore Max, where she's just like, look, this is who I am. I can be smart and forward thinking and all of this and completely caring at the same time.
Yes. Yep. Which is really great.
Yeah. I mean, this is, goes to my general theory that Max is the best human.
Yes.
Which I will just keep.
Certainly the most well-rounded.
Yeah. I will just keep promoting my idea of Max is the best human. Okay. So now we have our scene with Vane. Mm-hmm. We're doing Nassau. So we're not really doing Janex so much as we're doing all
Right.
Janex plus Vane. Do we need a new name for them? No, we don't need a new name for them.
No, that would be weird.
So we have Vane working on the fort, and I really liked that Mr. Scott is the one who comes and explains to him why that's problematic.
Yeah. Poor Vane.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
He's just
conflicted.
He's a bit lost, and I think that's very important for what's about to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
This whole having slaves work on their joint venture is really, really difficult for him.
It is.
And it was very misguided of him. It came from a great place. But I like that Scott explained to him why it is not a great idea for him to try to work with the slaves because, again, because of hierarchy, because of leadership. Like this is, there are hierarchies, whether we like them or not. There are hierarchies in this world, not just in the world of civilization, but also in this world. And part of leadership is dealing with the uncomfortable parts of the hierarchy. And we're about to see a lot more of that in this episode. Mm-hmm. So Vane's upset, and then Teach shows up.
He sure does.
The weirdest reunion ever.
Yeah. Teach is weird.
I think he thought he was being funny. I'm not really sure what was going on there.
I don't know. Well, I think that he wanted to put Vane on his back foot.
Yep.
And then, I don't know, and then wanted to appear like the benevolent father figure.
Yep.
And then he gets all grouchy later and with all of his weird pedantic speech about how back in my day, kiddo, I walked 5 miles both ways uphill in the snow. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bizarre thing. And
weird.
I mean, it's just, it's interesting after they reunite. So like, I think if I try to remember the first time I saw it, like, I think actually I was, I mean, it is, again, a weird way to say hello to someone after you've not seen them for a long time. That's is weird. Like to put a sword through a curtain at their throat.
Right.
That's an odd hello. But I think I did think that he was threatening Vane because we don't know. All we know up before that is that he had asked for Vane. We don't know what his.
It's true. We had no idea. And then we just learned that Vane had betrayed him all those years ago.
Right. That's true. So we're really set up to think that Vane is in danger in this scene when they're first reunited. And then he hugs him, which is surprising.
Uh-huh.
And Vane seems equally surprised.
Yeah.
And then they have their funny walk through the market, which was I actually love the walking through the market. I did like the walk through the market, yeah. Right? Because you see all like the weird food, the meat hanging. It's just
I was thinking, this stuff in the sun must stink to high heaven. He has that line about like the carcasses and the pitch and the smell. I'm like, yep, okay, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And we find out that he had 9 wives. Weird.
That's
also
many wives. Also weird. Yeah. He's weird. This is what I'm saying. He has like this weird romanticized sense of his relationship with Vane and all of these wives. But yeah, he's just unbalanced. He's an unbalanced man.
Oh, that's so interesting. See, I see him as very like self-satisfied. I see him as very like, he's like, it's all good. I'm Blackbeard.
Okay. That's probably more accurate. Yeah.
The world just bends to my will. Like, that's how I see him. And so I enjoy him a lot. I'm clearly enjoying him more than you. But yes, I just thought he was hilarious because he's like walking around and Vane still has his hands on his swords. Like, Vane is still on edge. Mm-hmm. And Blackbeard's like, hey, look, I'm back. This is great. Let me tell you stories about my wives.
Weird.
I know. The whole thing is so bizarre. And then Vane's like, why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
And, and he's like, did you need an apology? And Teach's like, we clearly just saw this whole story in a different light. We're good. Hey, look at that giant man of war. Who does that? Like, isn't that Flint's? I don't know. I'm very amused by Teach. I like him a lot. And so that's when Vane talks about his partnership.
Right.
And Teach is like, maybe I remembered the smell differently than what I thought originally.
Yeah.
And this is his first level of judgment.
Yes. Well, and it also shows that I think Teach is very smart. Like, he's smarter than he lets on, too.
Oh, my God. Yeah. The next scene is like, right. Again, leadership. Like, he's not nobody. This is a man. Well, okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Okay. So he says, I want to meet your partners, right? Mm-hmm. So next, I think right after that, we see like Flint battling Storm. We'll get to that soon. But I was like, okay, well, one partner's busy.
Yes,
and so
quite.
They go see the other partner. And this is also like, oh, Jack. Like the next time we see Jack, he's gambling. I think I remember Toby Schmidt saying like that he had that like goblet full of quail eggs. I think that's what that is next to him.
Oh, yeah. I didn't notice it this time, but
such random decadence. He just doesn't know what to do with himself.
No.
He's just Jack. Like, I know. Oh, Jack.
And the clothes. He's so dapper now.
I know. He's got those
foppish.
Like, his jacket's similar to his old jacket, except it's like a nicer fabric and has these little tassels.
The tassels. Down. It's so silly.
I love it so much.
Oh, Jack.
Again, I love Jack. I want Jack to dress in his fancy clothes and for us to go out to bars and drink.
And eat quail eggs, apparently.
I guess.
Or turtle's
so that's
eggs?
when
maybe that's what he had said. Turtle's eggs? I don't remember. Anyway.
So that's when Adele plops that one bag of 500 pieces on the table, and he's like, oh, right, that's the one he lost yesterday. And she's like, nope, we found that one yesterday. This is the one he lost today. And she plops the other one down, and she says, exactly how stupid are your men?
Yep. It's hard to say, really.
It is hard to say. It's truly hard to say how stupid they are.
I appreciated that gift that you sent me today also.
I did send exactly that exchange to you today.
Yep. Ex-husbands are the worst. Go ahead.
In addition, actually, Toby Schmitz, he gifted himself today.
Oh?
He was complaining about Nintendo, and he used a Jack GIF, and I was like, "Ah, that makes me happy."
Wow, that's when you've arrived, when you can gift yourself.
Exactly. So, cheers, Toby/Jack.
Cheers.
Jack would totally gift himself as well. By the way,
yes, he would. Absolutely, he would.
So Vane and Teach enter, and then. I love this scene so much when the three of them are hanging out, and I'm just preparing everyone. This is the beginning of I hope we just have Jack and Teach hanging out together all of season 4. So we don't get a lot of them hanging out with each other in this season, but when they do, just be prepared, everyone. I'm going to talk about it a lot. I really love these two when they're together. Okay, so Jack is so excited, and he's pouring them drinks, and I think he calls it an auspicious return or something. Just so Jack Rackham.
So Jack Rackham. Mm-hmm.
So Jack Rackham. And then, momentous return. I did write it down. Mm-hmm. Then Teach says, Jack Rackham. And then Jack's face when he's like... Blackbeard said my name.
That is my name. Yep. It's like, you're that scrawny kid who's always trying to worm his way out of my ship. I'd rather you did not remember me that way, but I know.
Yeah, way to stomp on our poor boy's dreams there.
Well, but then he's like, that's all right, Jack. Just show him how smart you are. You'll turn him around. And he does. Right. He launches right into showing off his brains and how he thinks about things. And Teach just does not seem impressed.
He does not give a shit.
Well, this is the thing, yes. But if Teach chose as his protege Charles Vane, I think it's pretty safe to say that he's going to be unimpressed by the likes of Jack Rackham. So really what's interesting is how Charles and Jack got to get to the relationship that they have and the trust that they have.
Yeah, I just feel so bad for Jack. But... this is a beautiful study in leadership. So we have Jack. He talked about how the stipends and, and basically paying people to follow him.
Right.
Like now we understand like this. So he was trying to pay people to follow him. Mm-hmm. Clearly that didn't work so well.
No,
so he had to go find some slaves to do it. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's Jack. And actually our friend Carla brought up the comparison of this to Jack when he first took over the brothel. Like, remember how all the prostitutes were taking advantage of him as well. Mm-hmm. And it was only when Max came in and took over things.
Jack is not a leader. I think we've always said this about him. He is not.
Yeah, and so this is something I want to investigate. I mean, I just really think it's interesting. What is it about Jack? Like, is it just because he just cares about what people think? Is it just because he's too good a person? What do we think is the essence of Jack's failure as a leader?
I do not think it's because he's too good a person. I think that's generous of you.
Too caring a person. Let's say too caring a person. Maybe the first thing I said, because
he's just very short-sighted in certain ways. Like, he thinks he's so big picture.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't understand other people.
He doesn't understand other people. That's exactly right.
He understands how to manipulate people.
Yeah.
But not he doesn't understand like the core reason why people do what they do, because he's so different.
Because he's so different himself. Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he seems like perpetually surprised by everybody else's actions because they're not doing it the way he would do it.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. Right, like here he is talking about how NASA, NASA's main problem was that NASA never had an identity. I mean, this is like him with the flag,
which is himself. Yes, yeah, he's like projecting himself onto NASA or something.
Right. Like,
I don't
what's wrong?
know
What's wrong with my
psychological
banner?
words, but yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and then Teach, we just see really the essence of someone who just effortlessly inspires people to follow him, because we have these two guys who come in and want to join his crew. Right at the moment when Jack's talking about, how he needs to enlist people and how he's been enlisting people, these two guys just walk up to Teach and say, "Can we join your crew?" And Teach doesn't even talk to them. He's talking to Vane.
Exactly.
And he talks about, your thing about like, in my day. And without even addressing these two men, he manages to get them to go outside and fist fight for the honor of being on his crew.
No, he just intimated it. Yeah.
He didn't even actually offer either of them a place. And that's all he needs to do to control people. And I just felt like this is amazing to watch a man who can so control people without even looking like that's what he's trying to do. When Jack's been working so hard and paying people and cajoling people and being exasperated with people, and all Teach needs to do is not even look at them.
Yeah.
And these two guys fight until they're bloody, and one of them shows up, and he still doesn't talk to him.
Nope.
He doesn't talk to him the whole time. He walks out and puts his hand on that guy's shoulder.
Yep, and that's it.
And that was what that guy needed. And I kept thinking while I'm watching this, like, he's talking to Vane, like, is Vane looking at his own past?
Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, Vane, once upon a time, Vane did whatever he needed to do at the time to become his protege.
Yeah.
He had to prove himself to Teach at one point. And that's what I just kept thinking, like, that this had some echo for Vane of his own youth.
Well, he had to get so ruthless somehow.
In an episode where we see Vane dealing with not really having this new reality really fit for him. Teach has been introduced to us as like the ultimate in person who can lead men.
Yeah, okay.
He doesn't have any of the things, like all of our pirates that we love, he doesn't have any of the things that are holding them back. Jack has, we just discussed all of Jack's things that hold him back from being a good leader. And Vane has his own issues of, the need for freedom and stuff like that. Flint, obviously, has his problems with being concerned about other people's perception of him and his own ghosts. But Teach is really, he's first of all, he's an example of NASA's past, and he talks about that. And he's an example of perhaps the ultimate pirate, like in a world where there's a blurring between pirate culture and civilization. So Teach then, during this whole thing, while we're watching these two guys fighting in the form that Teach says was how once upon a time someone joined a crew, that's where he talks about how, I don't know, is he saying Jack or is he saying Jack and Vane? Like he's saying, he said, you've taken what made NASA special.
Yeah, he's talking to both of them, I think, especially to Vane because Vane is his protege. But yeah,
right.
But he means that this triumvirate that they have created.
Right. Well, and he's basically calling into question everything that we've talked about pirate culture. He talks about people taking prizes through surrender instead of through, and he says, you've made them comfortable. Like captains now, it is very similar to what Flint said last episode when he was talking to Silver about pretenders.
Yeah, it's true. It is. Yeah.
That he made that same point
true.
that captains...
it's true. Yeah.
Right. He's calling into question this coalition that, like, just an episode ago, we were kind of psyched about, that our pirates who we love had managed to create this coalition. And he's like, yeah, exactly this thing that you've done is what is destroying proper piracy.
Very interesting.
Isn't it? And Vane is listening to him.
Of course he is.
And again, we just saw Vane dealing with this whole, he's like, wait a minute, I didn't sign up to be a slaveholder. This was not what I signed up for. So this is going to be an interesting dynamic. But yeah, I feel like, we've really set up this threesome as a threesome of conflict, that Jack and Teach are both offering Vane very different things. All right. So I am ready to move on to our storm.
Okay. Gosh, I feel like the storm itself is a character.
Right?
Yeah, an antagonist.
Really scary antagonist.
Wow. And I wish we could have seen, I know it sounds silly, but I want Flint to succeed in things. I hate that the Tagallants, is that what it was, that wouldn't come down, that got stuck?
Yeah.
He had a plan. He had a good plan.
He had a good plan. This goes back to the whole thing of leadership. Like this part, the storm part, is really, in my eyes, completely about leadership and the consequences of making the choices as a leader.
Yeah, that's a good call. Gosh, I love it when Billy says, "This is mad, Captain." He says, "Billy, make it so."
I know.
Captain,
I love
this
that
is mad.
too.
Billy, make it so. God, that's a great exchange. Yep. Billy is super cool in this episode too.
Billy is super cool in this episode, I've got to say. And there is that moment. So like, okay, so De Groot from the very beginning says like these Tagallants, like first of all, how beautiful, like that they're already in the storm, but you can see in the distance still Hornigold's ship, and that
like,
it's light
I know.
there. Like, I love that. I love storms. I mean, not storms like this. I wouldn't want to be in a ship on the sea in a storm.
Right. Yeah, this one's pretty epic.
But you know, I live in a part of the country where we don't have tornadoes like you all.
Right.
So storms can be a happy thing for me because we don't really get tornadoes. But I love that. I love that when you see a storm coming suddenly. We get sudden storms where it's just like suddenly the sky goes dark and it's just windy, and you can often see like somewhere else where it's sunny. I love all of that so much. So yeah, that was just really beautiful, is that you see that they're already in the beginning of the storm, but you can see the sun in the distance, and so threatening and beautiful at the same time.
It's gorgeous. It's so well done.
It is so gorgeous. So gorgeous. So yeah, so De Groot already brings up, De Groot, always our pessimist / realist, whatever we want to call him.
Yep. Debbie Downer.
He brings up the Tagallants immediately. And Flint has a very good answer. And he says, we can't show Hornigold that we're slowing, or he will come in to finish us. He's like, we have to just be at full speed. So, we know that Flint is a good tactician, and like you said, he has a plan, but he's making a judgment call.
Yeah. And
we'll get into in a minute the consequences of his judgment call, but it is amazing. And then he asks Billy, he says, this is going to be difficult, I need you to go up into the rigging and be in charge of that. And and I just felt like that was such a weighty moment between the two of them, because Billy knows how dangerous all of this is, but especially what Flint's asking of him, especially knowing what we know of what happens to some of the people up in the rigging, and what happened with Billy in the past. It was just that pause before he agreed to do it. I just felt like was so strong. It was amazing. Yeah, and yet he agreed to do it.
And yet he agreed to do it. Yeah,
right.
Well, and also, as much as it was a danger, it was also a great sign of respect that Flint needed him up in the rigging.
Absolutely. Yes, right. And I think that was it was neat. The parallel of it to the time when Billy ended up in the water.
Yes,
is great to show that they are. Again, they don't love each other,
right?
But they work well as a team.
Yes, exactly.
And I think this was Billy both. I mean, Billy always comes from a motivation of what's good for the group, what's good for his crew, his men.
Yes.
So there's that as well. Just like this sense of responsibility and of trust. You're right. And then Silver comes in and says to Billy, we should have taken the pardons.
Which was very interesting. Yeah. Silver also looking bad, right?
Yeah.
Gosh, he's looking bad. I wonder about this, if they had, because I imagine that they had Luke Arnold lose some weight.
They did.
He's looking very gaunt.
Right. So this is, I even asked them this at New York Comic Con, because there's a reason why Luke Arnold loses a lot of weight in the next episode.
Right.
And I had always thought that was somewhat done through makeup and maybe even CGI, because they do that sometimes.
Somewhat, I'm sure.
Nope. he just lost so much weight. He lost a ton of weight for that next episode.
That's so bad for you.
And then I asked them I was sitting with Luke and Lucas, the director of this episode, and I had asked the timing, but then we started talking about something else. So I didn't understand. Now looking at it, I understand. Like, he's already on this like crash diet during this episode. It must be. Because he is looking very gaunt already.
He is looking gaunt already. Well, and some of it is makeup. I'm sure they've got the dark circles under his eyes, but he looks hollow.
But it suits this episode as well.
It does too, right. I mean, obviously he's fighting with the infection in his leg, and he's just weak and he's tired. And I imagine he's barely remembering to eat.
And he's burdened. I mean,
he's burdened.
And we're going to go into that more soon. Yeah. But yeah, he's very burdened by this new role of his. Mm-hmm. So Silver says that they should have taken the pardons, and Billy doesn't really have any time for him. But Silver explains like why he's so troubled. And he said, there should have been a conversation. And he said, Flint had the men where he needed, but he had me there too. He had
me. Yep. And that's not supposed to happen.
And that's not supposed to happen. And so this is where we get into, what is really a fascinating examination in this episode of Silver's experiences of leadership, which is a new role for him. Billy is used to some amount of leadership. Flint, obviously very good at this. Mm-hmm. We just saw Jack struggle with it. Also, he's also new to leadership. Yeah. Versus Teach, who's very good at it. Mm-hmm. But Silver's experience in this episode is what really, I think, brings this message home of how difficult it is to be a leader. We've had many episodes where we judge Flint on his choices and his leadership and his willingness to sacrifice members of his crew. And I just really feel like this episode is telling us a different story that is really giving us the other side of this really difficult role that captains have to fill. Yeah. So we have that. And then we have two storylines. We have Silver and Muldoon down below decks trying to fill those holes. And we have Flint above decks trying to deal with the Tagallants situation. Yes. Mm-hmm. So when Flint decides it is time to I don't know I'm so bad at ship terminology. You would think I'd be better at it by now, right?
It's challenging to
fold up the Tagallants to the opposite of unfurl them. Sorry everyone.
You're okay. You're okay.
I know the people who know this terminology are cringing right now, and they get stuck. Yeah. And this is a serious problem. Like, they have that minute of calm, but like watching the ship when it like, even before they have those big waves that almost make it go over, like just watching how far it's leaning is so terrifying. Yes. I know you love ships, and I love them too in theory, but the idea of, this is one of my absolute nightmares, is to be in a ship that might sink. This for me, this seriously like the stuff of nightmares.
Oh gosh.
It's hard for me to watch. Mm-hmm. So they have the situation, and you have Billy. He sent people up to try to cut them. So that's Billy also showing leadership. Like again, we have so many layers of people putting other people in danger for the greater good. And then ultimately they have those huge waves, and we see the carnage. We see what happens when the boat leans that much, and De Groot says, "We will sink." Yes. Mm-hmm. And people are getting thrown off, and people are like, oh, it's like somebody just like hits the mast while he's sliding. It's so graphic and horrible. Yeah. And then Flint goes and grabs that axe, and he cuts those lines.
He just gets the job done.
Yep. He does. And
he makes the hard calls. He makes the hard sacrifices.
Exactly. And we watch Billy. Like, we had seen Billy like on the mast where it like went into the water. That shot is incredible.
That is an incredible shot. Yeah.
And he manages to stay on, and the guy next to him falls off. So we're losing people right and left. Like, we're very confronted with how dangerous this is for everyone. Mm-hmm. And then Flint makes that call, and you see it from Billy's perspective. Again, I think this is a moment where, Billy is being our surrogate. Billy's holding on tight, like we feel Billy's pain and his danger, and then he watches when Flint cuts those lines. He watches the guys that he sent up higher just fly off into the water.
Oh, God.
Right?
Yep. But then the ship rights, and then everyone else is okay.
Exactly. And this is just, I think, such a beautiful example of how a leader needs to make hard choices sometimes. Yes. And you again, had Flint not done that, they would have all died.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And we have a lot of deaths here.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a lot of people who survived.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, even when, when Billy says this is mad and Flint says make it so, he's saying make it so. He's saying take everyone down below decks, and I'm going to stay up here and make sure that our ship goes in a direction that Hornigold can't anticipate.
Mm.
I mean, what a crazy thing for him to strap himself to that wheel.
Yep.
And try to control the ship on any level in that. And that's also a thing. It's like, this is not the first time, and he doesn't get a lot of credit for it. This is not the first time where we see Flint make a big sacrifice for the sake of his crew. I mean, they don't see him this way, but like, look what he did.
Mm-hmm.
He is, that's just so terrifying for me. Maybe I feel this more than some people just because it's so terrifying. He's like tied to the wheel in that storm. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's just
crazy. Like Flint versus Storm.
Yeah. Yeah, I do respect him very much as a captain in those moments, though.
Right?
Yeah, a lesser captain would give the job to somebody else and go inside where it's warm.
Right. And these are those moments when, like back when Dufresne took the ship from him and the merchant captain said, "Are you him?" And it's just like, you know what? There's a reason why
There's
he's
a
Flint.
reason he is Flint.
When he says they can't do what I can do, you know what?
He's completely right.
He's completely right.
He has earned that.
Yep.
And it's why Billy is now following all these directions.
Exactly.
Yeah, because he knows it. He's been with them long enough so that he knows it. Yeah.
Right. And again, nothing's changed. When he said to Vane, "You hate Flint, I hate Flint," I don't think he likes him. It's not like he suddenly is like, "Oh, Flint, I like you now. You're my guy."
Mm-hmm.
But he is his captain.
Yep, he is his captain. Yep. Billy is a good soldier.
Yes. Billy is nothing if not a good soldier. Yet again, like our tweeting today, a good comparison between our Billy Bones and Captain America.
And Captain America, that's true. Those are my boys. I like that. My avenging angels.
Yes, this is why your love of Billy Bones was never surprising.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. I'm okay with being predictable from time to time.
Hey, if your predictability is a loyalty to men like Captain America and Billy Bones, it's all good.
I agree. Yep. I should just embrace that. Okay.
All right. So now that we talked about Flint and how well or whatever, how competently, let's say competently, he deals with leadership and captaincy. Yes. Let's talk about the heartbreak of Silver dealing with his own leadership issues.
Oh, yeah. Well, would you put that under leadership?
I would, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, do.
Silver is culpable in this story between him and Muldoon for two reasons. One, because of the thing he said to Billy, is that he understands, at least in his own mind culpable, he understands that he should have argued with Flint about this plan of going to Storm.
Yes.
And in addition to this, in the last episode, when they decided to go into the storm, Silver is on the top deck, and Muldoon says to him, "There are holes in the hull," I think he says, that need to be filled. I'm going to go do that. And Silver says, "Go do that. I'll join you soon."
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Muldoon was the one who suggested it, but Silver did actually direct him. Like Silver, at that moment in the last episode, when Muldoon says that, Silver looks over at Flint, sees that Flint is very occupied with his own stuff, and then takes it on himself to say, "Yes, go do that."
Ah, interesting. Okay.
So yeah, This is something I noticed, a bunch of watches back, that this interaction actually started in the first episode of the season. But again, what's most important here really is not not our idea of his culpability, but his own.
Yes.
His own sense of how Muldoon's death is related to Silver's role as a leader. And I really think that is the essence of what's going on here. And it's so, it's one of the most difficult scenes. I mean, we've seen a lot of crazy stuff happen in this show, and this scene is just, for me, one of the hardest ones to watch.
Yeah.
I mean,
wow.
Yeah, Silver's pain is so yeah, it's very poignant.
It definitely is.
What I wanted to say, my comment just about this show and this episode in general, though, is like, this episode is one of the best examples of how you can have just extreme action set pieces going on.
Yes.
And at the same time, have these scenes that are such strong character moments.
Right. And so quiet.
Right. And so related. I mean, it's not, you know what I mean? Like that they're completely integrated. It's just such a beautiful example of how you don't need to choose one or the other.
Yeah.
That those two things can not only coexist, but actually strengthen each other.
Yes.
And I just, this show is that in general. I feel like this episode is one of the most beautiful examples of that.
Yeah.
So I just had to say that because I just am struck by that every single time I watch this episode. I really, this is an amazing episode. Okay, so we have the interaction with Silver and Muldoon, which is just, it's so touching. It's so, yeah.
It is really touching. Well, that's why I asked about it being related to leadership, because to me it's such a relational. It is a brotherhood thing. Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah,
it is that as well.
And Silver is even vulnerable in a way with Muldoon when he's saying, Muldoon's trying to tell him, "Let us take care of you," and he's like, "That's the scariest thing anybody said that day was let us take care of you."
Well, especially for someone like Silver, and this is part of his process.
It sure is. Yeah,
the two are tied. He gained brotherhood and leadership as a package. They're not unrelated for him.
Yeah, that is very true.
And it's just, it is so beautiful. And I love what Muldoon says, where he says, that it's not fair of him not to allow them to pay their debt to him.
Yep, that's a really good point.
Isn't it?
It is a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the last remnant, I think, for Silver of, he's always been so scrappy and so independent. And it's just, he's willing to sacrifice for his men that have now become his men. But the idea of that level of vulnerability, I mean, we saw him. We've seen, in the last episode and this episode, he's just having such a hard time allowing himself to not be self-sufficient.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like he's adopted the part of it where he wants to care for them, but the idea of them caring for him is still really hard for him. And I don't know. I respect that. I mean, it's not a helpful trait for oneself when you're vulnerable to not allow yourself to be vulnerable, but it's a very respectable trait. It's like he's taken on all of the responsibility of leadership and brotherhood, and he's not yet willing to give up his idea of self-sufficiency. But that's not I don't see that as a bad trait. You know what I mean? Like I think
no, it's not a bad trait. It's I really am just pleased that he's talking to somebody about it.
Right.
That alone is just such a huge step.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And someone who understands him. I mean, I love when Muldoon says, I understand you. I know what it's like to be not the strongest, the one who is, is scared that you will not hold up to the standards of the other men. Well,
and even his little joke where he's like, "What, are we married now?"
Yep. Yeah.
But it does show how close they've gotten. Like,
it's gorgeous. It's such a gorgeous scene. And to lose Muldoon is it's the perfect way, as sad as it is, it was the perfect way for Silver to really experience what it truly means to be a leader.
Yeah.
And, that he holds this man's hand, this man that essentially was following his orders.
Right.
And who trusted in him and who he let down. I mean, who died because, again, I don't think Silver that would have been able to convince Flint of something else. I don't, but he feels like he felt like he didn't do everything he could.
Yes.
Whether or not he could have figured out some other route for them as a crew to take, he feels like he didn't do everything he could.
Right.
He feels like he didn't fulfill his role. So whether or not that's true doesn't really matter for Silver's experience. His experience is that this man that he feels a bond with and who cares about him and who respects him as his leader died.
Yeah.
In his arm, holding his hand. And there was nothing he could do about it.
Yeah. And it was lovely. And that too showed great leadership, going down to hold his hand through it. It was the only thing he could do.
It was the only thing he could do at that point. There was no way. I mean, he tried, but everyone above deck was, they were dealing with their own tragedy, their own craziness. Yes. There was nothing that was going to happen.
Well, and it would have been easy for him to, and I can't remember. Well, I guess that's not true. He couldn't get out the door, could he?
No, he couldn't actually.
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
He tried. He tried that too. He did. He tried everything.
He tried everything that he could.
He tried to move the cannon. He tried everything.
Yep. That's so hard.
And yeah, I just felt like the juxtaposition of that with seeing Flint, who's learned these lessons. Flint, who he's not experiencing leadership without, being haunted by these things. Like we think, his crew certainly thinks he's not haunted. We know him better than that.
Right.
We know that these things do haunt him. And Silver's, I mean, it's kind of incredible to watch someone like Silver experience the first moments of that, the first time that your leadership has life or death consequences, and to experience that so intimately. And I don't know, I just feel like, I mean, we know that, Flint was already a leader in the Navy. So if he had an experience of that, it's long before we ever even saw him as James McGraw.
Yeah.
But, Flint went down that road so long ago. But it's almost like having a glimpse into the things that Flint had to experience to get to be the man he is now, for better and for worse.
Right, yeah.
Yep. Oh, poor Silver. But, he's, again, like Jack. I mean, again, Jack has found a thing that Jack wanted and isn't turning out 100% the way he wanted.
Yeah.
Silver has found something that wasn't what he wanted.
It's not what he wanted, yeah.
But it has fulfilled him in a way that he never imagined.
It's giving him fulfillment. Yeah, exactly.
And both of them, in very different ways, are experiencing the consequences that go along with those things. And I feel like it's such a fascinating investigation of that, like that we have. I don't know where Vane fits into what I'm trying to say about this episode, but we have Teach and Flint as very different versions of kind of the older leader who's dealt with these things, again, for better or for worse, and probably in very different ways. And then these younger leaders who are just starting to learn these lessons.
Yeah.
I think that's that's just a really neat process to watch.
I agree.
Okay, now let's talk about Flint's dreams.
I was gonna say, yeah, speaking of haunted Flint, I quite like Flint's dreams, actually. I'm not always a fan of dream sequences. I don't always feel like they're actually adding to the story. But this I thought did, because, again, he's in that white shirt again. He wore black throughout the episode, but in the dream he's in white. And again, I think that the dream was McGraw. The dream is McGraw, who we lost.
Oh, Liz, I love that.
Yeah. And that's why he's on this ship and he's alone. And then up climbs Miranda, and she is saying what she said to him before they even went to Charlestown. What is it? I'm asking you to come with me so that I can save your life. So she's saying that to McGraw, but he can't hear her anymore. She's dead already. It's too late. Death is like this specter on the ship. There's that moment where he walks into to that captain's quarters, and it's just like where the captain had been chained to it and gone crazy from the seawater.
Right. So I did a little research. I went back to past episodes. I believe, that is Hallandale.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Hallandale.
So that's Hallandale. But Hallandale's captain's quarters had curtains. They're very similar. But
that was his quarters, right?
Right. It's Flint's quarters with Hallandale in
with
them.
Hallandale in it. Yes.
It's so interesting.
It is very interesting. Yeah. And it's just, I think it's this idea that if you keep this course, if you choose this course of piracy, it will kill you. You're going to die.
Oh, I like that.
But he can't.
He can't listen.
He can't.
Because he can't hear her.
He can't listen. He can't hear it. He can't stop.
Oh, that's interesting. The parallel I saw in it was that that Miranda comes out of the sea the same way that the original Flint from James's story comes out of the sea. So she in that way she's kind of representing like the inspiration for wearing Flint like a coat, and she's essentially warning against that very thing. Huh.
Yes.
Oh, I like all of that.
I just love that specter of death so
I know.
much. It is my favorite thing. There's my spoiler. That's my favorite part. That's my favorite thing is the specter of death is just amazing. It's haunting, chilling.
So chilling.
Good.
And I love that the death in his dream is similar but not exactly the same as the death in
it's just enough so that we know what it is. But not enough so we're like, how does he know, though? He wasn't there.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Right.
Very well done.
It feels almost like a kind of collective consciousness thing.
Yes.
That everyone's imagining death the same way.
Right.
Oh, I love all of that. Oh, yay. I'm not very good at dream sequences. This is not my strength. And I love your interpretation of it. That's fabulous.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that so works for me. And there will be more dream sequences. And from what I remember, well, I didn't watch them that long ago, so I should remember them really well. But I feel like what you're saying really blends well into the other dream sequences that we will have. So that's really cool too. I'm looking forward to talking about those as well. And I am, as I just said, not really good at dream sequences. So I really, in all of my watches, was never able to understand. So I guess I'm not good at dream sequences or lip reading, it turns out. I was never able to figure out what Miranda was saying, and it always felt significant to me, but I was never able to figure it out. And before we decided to do this podcast, I was like, okay, well, this is kind of cool looking, but it's okay if I don't understand what she's saying until now. So I actually asked Jonathan Steinberg if he would be willing to tell me, and he said, well, it's dialogue from the 5th episode of season 2, which is the episode where she says, come with me so I can save your life. And also they have the argument and the reveal about Thomas.
Yes.
So that was super interesting to me. And I think, even though the only part of it I really can decipher is the come with me and save your life part. I thought that was such an interesting choice that they made to do this callback, and totally fits with what you're saying, like to do this as a callback to exactly that moment where the whole balance between McGraw and Flint is really laid out for us. So I love that. That's great. Yay dream sequence. Yay Liz for making sense of dream sequence.
Maybe. That's one interpretation anyway.
It is a great interpretation, and it is now the official interpretation of Fathoms Deep.
I like that.
So Flint wakes up from the second dream, and then we find out that we're becalmed.
Yes.
How haunting.
And yes, I was going to say, it's so interesting that we had this awful, again, we call it antagonistic storm, and yet now seeing them becalmed is actually more disturbing.
Right?
Like that's when I really feel like the cold clutch around my heart.
This is a perfect example of you getting what you think you want, and it's not what it doesn't turn out to be the thing you want. You think that all you want in the world is for that wind to stop blowing.
Yep.
And that's exactly the moment.
You asked for the weather to stop, and it did.
So I just felt like that was the perfect cap to the whole thing, is that we watched
that is good.
Everyone deal with getting what they thought they wanted, and we get what we thought we wanted. And it's terrifying.
It's terrifying, and we hate it. Yep. There you have it. Wow.
Yeah, it is. I remember the first time I watched that just going, holy shit, what does this mean? They don't have enough food. What do you do when you're on a ship and you have no wind? Like, what extremes to go from so much wind that it's dangerous to no wind.
Yep. Oh, so scary. Yep. Wow.
So yes, we will deal with that next episode.
Yes, we will. I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
Ready to guns! Full complement!
All right, Liz, I have a really good thesis statement this week. Would you like to hear mine?
I absolutely want to hear
it. This is interesting because our last thesis statement was also teach, and I'm choosing teach again. And now I'm really curious.
Teach again. Okay.
I feel like teach is giving us a special perspective on what's going on in this world. I know they're not all teach, but because I remember some of my thesis statements from when I watched season 3 for the first time and started playing this game with myself. So, but this time I think it's teach. So it's when he's talking to Jack and Vane and he says, strife is good. For if a man is capable of confronting death daily, no telling what else that man can do. And I feel like this has to do with how everyone's being judged on their capability and their ability to be a leader.
See, and I was going to go with, I don't have it word for word though, but what is it that Scott says to Vane?
Right, where he's talking about how, like, what he's doing feels right to him, but is confusing for the
men. Yeah, for the slaves.
Well, that's also about leadership.
And he says something about how it would be better. It is, yeah. And he says how it would be better for everyone if it was less confusing, basically, yeah.
I found it. He says, Scott says, in the interest of getting things done as quickly as possible, perhaps it is better if all of our roles were more clearly defined to avoid unnecessary and uncomfortable confusion. I still like teaches better.
I think you're probably right. No, that's okay. But I think you're right. I think the teach line is gonna be a better thesis statement. So while the conversation, the theme of that conversation is good, I think that as a statement, your teach one is good. I think that's right.
Okay. All right, everyone. That's our official thesis statement.
All right, Daphne. So do we have any pirate names to dole out for thesis statements from last week?
We do. We actually have 2 from last week, and we also have 1 from the end of season 2, which we have.
Oh, where we skipped. We couldn't remember. We're like, oh no, we've drank since then. What happened? Do not recall.
A lot of stuff happened. Okay, so let's do our season 2 finale person, who is Kelly, who somehow with all of her knowledge and everything, this is the first time she gets a pirate name.
That's amazing. Yeah. Okay. So Kelly has always gotten in contact with us about like how this show harkens back to classic Greek mythology and characters. But recently she's been talking to us about the Tempest, right? That's Kelly?
That's true.
Okay. Kelly, your pirate name then. Caliban Kelly.
Awesome. Yay, Kelly. All right.
Caliban is the monster in Tempest, in case you didn't know. So it works really well. I'm proud of that one. Caliban Kelly.
I am impressed. And also, Kelly, we do apologize for being late, but
Yeah, I'm sorry, darling. You did so well.
Well, yeah.
You deserve all the recognition.
The lateness is my fault. The awesomeness of name is all Liz. So, it's all on
Excellent.
me. All on me.
I'll take it.
All right. And then for episode 1 of season 3, we have 2 people. We have Charlie, 1877, also first time. Hi, Charlie.
Oh, right, Charlie. I apologize in advance for this, Charlie, because it's a terrible but excellent pirate name. Chum Bucket Charlie.
Cheers, Charlie.
Cheers, Charlie.
That's excellent. And then also longtime listener and longtime fan of Black Sails and our dear friend on Twitter, Emily Emmerly, also gets a pirate name this week.
All right. Emily Emmerly. Stormy Morley.
Oh, I like it. Not associated with Morley from season 1 because,
No. Morley for Emmerly. Yeah. I just riffed with her name as it was. I try to riff with your name as much as I can. So I don't just make something up completely, although that's happened too in the past. Yes.
Yes, Emily, we wish you a much better pirate experience than poor Morley.
Indeed.
And Liz, you've already said what your favorite thing is.
I did. Yep. Spectre of Death. So good.
And for me, my favorite thing is Jack and those quail eggs. Or whatever they are.
Oh, yeah. Whatever they are. I thought you were going to say the storm and that contrast of the dark and the light when it first rolled in, because that was also really, really great.
I love that.
I have to have props for that in general.
Absolutely.
And the ship, again, swelling and the sails. There's a lot of good ship adult feelings in this episode, too.
No question. So, I love all of that.
Yeah.
And still...
But still Jack.
But still Jack.
Fair enough. Yep. Yeah.
Jack wins over weather.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap us up for this week then.
Yep, it is. I do want to remind everyone to start collecting your Hamilton lyrics and
Hamil Sales.
And your appropriate Black Sails images or GIFs that suit the lyrics, because we are going to start Hamil Sales very soon. I was thinking maybe November 1st.
That sounds great.
And we could do Hamil Sales up until Election Day, which I think is very appropriate for a combination of a political TV show and a political musical.
Also, it gives us something fun to do right before the horrifying election.
Yes, to distract ourselves from the actual election.
Yes,
So let's start our Hamil Sales on November 1st. Everyone prepare and just tweet them. If you're not on Twitter, this is a really good reason to join Twitter.
Reasons, but this is one of them. Yep.
There are many good reasons. Mm-hmm. Join Twitter. Tweet them at us. Yep. We're at Black Sails Cast.
Hashtag Hamil Sales.
And use the hashtag Hamil Sales so we see them. And we will retweet them, and we will give extra special attention to ones that are particularly interesting and appropriate and original.
Definitely.
So we can't wait to see what you all are up to. I am definitely preparing a bunch.
Looking forward to it. All right. Well, then, until next time, from Common Room Radio, I am Liz Stevens.
And I'm Daphne Olive.
Fathoms Deep is a Common Room Radio production. For more information and access to other programs, please visit us at commonroomradio.com. To show your support, pledges of as little as $1 a month can be made to patreon.com/commonroomradio. Join the conversation by using the hashtag Fathoms Deep and follow us on Twitter at Black Sails Cast. We ask that you keep your tweets respectful and positive, and please avoid spoilers. If you have more to say, we want to hear it in all its spoiler glory. Email us at podcast@commonroomradio.com with Fathoms Deep in the subject line. Thanks for listening.